Welcome to Comic Toy Reviews, another spotlight video. And in case you can't tell, this video is on Superman. Yeah, a little cosplay, right? Created in 1938 by Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster. The origin of Superman is actually a very interesting story. He was created way before the June 1938 publishing date in Action Comics #1. He was first a villain in a sci-fi like fanzine newsletter back then. In an old fanzine, there was a story called Reign of the Superman. It was a bald, evil scientist guy, and that was nothing like the Superman we knew. And then later on, it was a second version. He didn't have a costume, and the only thing that remained of that was a cover. Shuster was so distraught at the rejections that he decided to burn the pages, but Jerry Siegel saved the cover. Moving to the Superman that got published, for years they tried to pitch Superman, but no one was buying. This was at least 2 years or more that they were trying to pitch the character. None of the publishers bought it, none of the publishers wanted it. But they kept trying and they kept trying, and eventually it was published. Not because there was faith in the book, they just needed extra material, and it was just like, okay, just like publish it. But there was no faith in it. There was no knowing that it would be a hit or that it would really define a genre in the industry. There were all these different genres out there. There was crime, there was horror, there was romance, there was all different things, cowboys. But when the superhero industry hit, it had its forebearers in the pulps, which were like serialized usually in print, stories. There were pulp characters back then that inspired it. There were guys like the Shadow, the Phantom, etc. But Superman was really the first superhero, or even if you want to say he wasn't the first superhero, but he was really the first superhero that set the standard that when he took off big, he trailblazed an industry that is still going strong today. Without Superman, there would be no Batman. It's a well-known fact that Bob Kane basically got orders that Superman was such a hit, they wanted another character to be a hit for the industry. Basically, Bob Kane, he got the Superman character and he traced the costume when he was creating Batman. He traced the design. It shows you that's why Batman has a chest symbol, outer pants, belt buckle, boots. It's pretty similar in design, costume design, to Superman, because it was traced over and modified. But the superhero industry in general, I think, really owes a debt of gratitude. So Superman also in fashion design. Of course, you look at costumes now, they all have chest symbols, they all have boots that go pretty high. A lot of that stuff was probably influenced by Superman to a degree, I think. We all know there's a ton of Superman imitators out there, but the original, the real deal, was Superman. And in the beginning, he was not as powerful as you see now, and he was actually a man. He was actually not afraid to be a man. In today's politically correct society that we have now, Superman was a man of action, that he did the right thing. He was the one who would get involved when someone was going to the electric chair and they were innocent. He would solve the case. He was the one that when workers had unfair working conditions, he's the one who confronted the boss. There were a lot of social issues in the early Superman stories that were really relevant to that time period, but also relevant to today's world of the injustices that go on in society and how Superman confronted it. And it was also something that it was relatable. It made it relatable. When Superman took off big, it basically really did trailblaze the superhero industry as a staple in comic books. What many people don't know is that Back then, comic books, even for Siegel and Schuster, it was not the ideal format. The ideal format were comic strips in the newspapers. That was considered the big deal, not comic books. If you made the newspaper comic strips, that was like hitting big time. Well, eventually, Siegel and Schuster had their Superman stories put in the comic strips in the newspapers, and those comic strips actually contain the most full-length origin of Superman that the Superman creators made ever was in the comic strips, not in the comic books. When he hit big, it really did pioneer an industry, but the cultural impact of the character is, to be honest with you, go to any country in the world, he's one of the few superhero characters that's recognized the world over, okay? You say Superman, they know who you're talking about, and so that's really cool. And when you think about it, just to make it to that level of recognition, it's you can't plan for that. It's just one of those things that happens, and it's amazing to witness. The character is so big now that Batman and Superman, basically those two, are the icons and the powerhouses of the DC Comics stable. Without either one of these characters, that DC Comics would really, really be hurting without them. I mean, they are the driving force of DC comic books, Superman and Batman. They really are. When you look at Superman, what really helped him also gain popularity was the radio show back in the day, various animated series, TV shows, and yes, even the movies especially. It really resonates with the audience, and there's something about it that he just has that appeal, that charisma as a character that most characters can't get, they wish they could get. It's like lightning in a bottle. You can't plan for it, and in a way it just happens, and it has that appeal, and it takes off. The funny thing is, before copyright laws were changed a couple of decades ago, Superman would have been a public domain property. And that means anyone could have used the character to tell Superman stories. But copyright laws were changed, and therefore it's not public domain. But it's kind of interesting to know that it could have and would have been a public domain property, Superman. Just thought I'd bring that little fact out. Where Superman goes in the future is there is a legal dispute because there's copyright laws changed a few years ago about termination of copyright, and DC Comics, Warner Brothers, the owners, is in a legal dispute with the estates of Siegel and Schuster for the Superman character rights. It's still playing out in 2011, the legal battle of what's going to happen. They have a new Superman movie planned. Part of the reason is for legal reasons, that they have to have a Superman movie out by a certain date between the copyright laws and what's going on that I talked about. But I'm sure Warner Brothers will settle something with the estates, because there's no way they could afford to lose Superman, and they know it. They know how much this character brings in recognition, in money, in brand appeal, that you just can't lose it. And Warner Brothers has the money and the backing to make sure they don't lose the character. No idea how this legal case will sort out, but as I said, I just feel that they will settle, and DC Comics, Warner Brothers, they're not losing the Superman character rights, and there's no way they want that to happen. The bottom line is, Superman is an icon in the industry. His stories, his character, it will always be, every couple of decades, revised, updated, but the core appeal of the character will still be around in some form or other, and he's a generational character of generations growing up with the character. He's not going anywhere. In some form or other, the character will be around. It's basically an icon. That's all I gotta say. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you liked it. Subscribe, and I'll have other character spotlight videos in the future. Talk to you later. You're still here? That's the character spotlight. The video's done. Oh, you want to see one more thing? Oh, okay. Yeah, you didn't think I'd show that, did you? Catch you later.